right? We went to a couple of weeks to a few weeks to now a few months. So it's hard to say what the future holds, but we know good teaching is good teaching, and we're just going to go. We have to go with the flow for our kids, right? So, like I said last time, we talked about slowing down, reaching out, and rethinking how we do class. And that bit.ly link there in the corner, and I'll drop it in to our chat. That's where you could see all the recordings from not only our conversations with coaches, but with elementary and secondary education, principals, district leaders. There's a lot of information being shared in those chats. There are also some, in the description of those videos are additional resources that were generated by educators and by principals that are free for you to check out and to use. So today, based on your feedback and the things that were shared in our survey last week, we figured this would be a pulse check and really focusing on how are we supporting all learners. Had lots of questions about our exceptional children, had lots of questions and requests for some solid models that you can share, that can be that you can turn around and use to support your staff. And then ultimately, you know, what are our big needs and you know, what's next? I see Christy said you checked on teachers' needs, and I'm, you know, before we leave today, I'm curious, what are your needs and what are you continuing to look for to support what you're hearing back from teachers? So that's what I've hoped I've packed into this time that we have together today. So how many of you feel like this? I found this comic. It's always been a favorite. About a year ago, it's from invisiblebread.com, and you know, being outside our comfort zone is already really difficult, and so much has happened so fast. This has really been hard on everybody, and that's why we're struggling. We are so far out of our comfort zones, and even great teachers feel like they lack expertise in creating online or blended remote learning instruction like what we need right now. And while there's lots of exceptional teachers, like not all of them are ready to move to instruction in a remote learning setting, and certainly not at a moment's notice, which is what we got, right? So as we're thinking about our colleagues and ourselves, on our students and their families, everybody's outside their comfort zone right now. And many of us are still in survival mode, and hopefully that's lessening. Yes, please steal this. And so considering all of that, what we have to talk about and what I put together to share with you today, and again, feel free to be sharing and reacting and push back, ask questions. We know that one size does not fit all, but these are the basic elements that we're looking for when we, these are the foundations of our learning and instruction. So our content, how students access it, what they're doing with that curriculum, the process is the teacher sequence, learning, the learning in the ways in which students learn, that product, what are students doing to demonstrate that they have learned, and then ultimately that environment, how the learning is structured. And that's been our huge focus right now. The environment has changed. It's changed a lot. And so while a lot of focus has been on the environment, let's not forget 1, 2, and 3. You know, so these are, again, this is a foundation. This is nothing new. It just looks a lot different right now, and it could be hopefully reassuring to teachers and those that you work with to say like, hey, this is you're doing it. You're doing okay. You're doing it right. And but what does this look like in order to serve all of our students and their needs? And again, that was heard loud and clear from the feedback that you gave last time. So what we're really talking about here is differentiation. Considering, like, do students have answer keys when they're trying to do this work at home? Are there some kids that can handle more or less? I mean, how do we continue to reach learning for some that catch up, that need to catch up when they need it? So I'm curious, like, what are some ways that you are currently differentiating or supporting teachers in differentiating not only the curriculums out there, but maybe you're differentiating your support for your colleagues? Bear has virtual office hours, drop-in teachers. That's awesome. Virtual office hours help so much in just keeping you sane, right? Keeping you from checking your inbox all day long, or just, you know, knowing when to be on, right? I like the drop in kind of like, this is informal, just drop in. What do you need? How can I help you? And then too, Brian says, you know, targeted resources. And great question. What kind of platforms are you using for virtual office hours? I've seen, we've been saying if use what maybe you've already had available, if that's an option. I know a lot of folks are using like Google Meets, or if they were in elementary, like using Seesaw or Class Dojo, they were using a lot of those because that's what they already had set up in place with their kids. So the teachers were comfortable using that. Zoom happy hour check-ins, no school talked aloud. I like that, Melanie. We kind of need that mental break. And you know, our staff, they miss their work families, right? Those connections. So I have actually seen a few people going back to the tried and true Skype. Remember Skype? So Skype has had some updates, and it's doing pretty well. So there's many platforms out there. But again, with all the concerns with Zoom, right? Zoom, if you're using the free version, it is susceptible to people hopping on and wreaking some havoc, as you've seen online or in the news. And there are some ways to go around that, and or you know, having a password if it's for folks that are getting a special invite, not sharing the link publicly, those kinds of things. So when it comes to models, I got a huge request for models to support not only students using technology at home, but then, you know, some lesson ideas for students that maybe don't have connectivity. So I came across this, and if you found this as well, you know that last week, Matt Miller, who owns Ditch That Textbooks website, had so much traffic on it, it crashed. So it was down for a few days. This comes from his website, and I'm going to go ahead and drop in where I found this link for you. So I really did like and appreciate him thinking about how remote learning could look if you did not have internet access. And we know that's the case for some of our kids and some of their families, or access is limited. Likewise, Matt has some really excellent additional resources on e-learning. He has some resources guides, some sample lesson plans, as well as a multitude of hyperdocs that he has recently created and put online, which is why his site crashed. And I'm curious, has anybody come up with some interesting non-internet ideas or examples that they have passed along to their staff, or something that they're looking into? You could drop in the chat, or you can pick up the mic. Oh, I love it. Backyard science challenges, choice boards, paper pencil choice boards, each grade reading levels. Thank you, Christine. Would love link examples and share that with everybody. That would be awesome. So this is ultimately, like, so if a student did not have connectivity or internet, but then I also was thinking about, what if, you know, you're sending some things home, how could the teacher still be present? And here's just some examples. See, oh, journals, reflections, spring scavenger hunts. Oh, I love that idea. So see, lots of choice boards. I'm hearing that from a lot of educators too. They're very comfortable using choice boards and what those look like. Digital and non-digital options. This is on your screen an example of just your typical worksheet. But what the teacher's done is they've put it in QR codes, kind of like an answer key, where it links to a video of them going through the problem they just asked the student to do. Because the goal is for the student to be able to understand what they've done or the learning. I just thought this was very interesting. The QR codes can go either to a video or it can go to the teacher kind of saying, hey, remember to do X, Y, and Z. So it adds the opportunity asynchronously for the teacher to kind of be there while the student is working on their lesson. So these examples are from, and I'm going to drop those in. These are where I found those. I've seen lots of examples online. And as for a QR code creator that I love, I use Unitag because I can do colors and I can save them and it's super easy. So I just thought this was a really interesting and very simple way for the teacher to have a slight technology addition to the papers that are going home and those materials, because while they may not have computer access or really great Wi-Fi, they may have access to their cell phone. So that is an option that we're definitely sharing. And yes, Unitag is great. Unitag is a great QR code builder. I dropped that in the chat. So, and if you have any questions on any of this stuff, I'm happy to hang out after today and do any demos or anything like that. Another thing I came across, really thinking about keeping things focused and simple, was, how are we managing and, laying out our lessons, or helping our teachers see how they can go about and put this together. So this is taken from a HyperDoc, which I'm going to link right now. It's a HyperDoc template that you can totally use and request access to. And it really it's focused around 3 with an optional 4th bucket for student learning. And I really thought this was great when you think about how are we extending the learning for our students that need a little bit more, and differentiating for that. So, the first is the student task. Here's the resources. Here's the info. The HyperDoc I linked has some great ideas kind of around like fleshing that out. And then there's the portion of, okay, now the teacher explains the learning expectations. This is what I want you to do for feedback, X, Y, Z. And then there's the opportunity for the student to apply and then share what they've known, with the optional connect and extend portion, where maybe it's connected to another subject area, or it goes deeper. But again, that's optional for the students who want to do it, because again, we're not there and we don't know what the learning environment for our student is. So this is a great way to create an opportunity where we don't really have a whole lot of control. Any thoughts or questions about this? Feel free to jump in the chat or grab the mic. It's okay.
Jacqueline, this is Brian. One of the things that our teachers have asked a lot for is that more differentiation, or I guess lesson planning for some of our higher needs kids, whether they're EL or ESOL or special education. So I really like this HyperDoc, that it's going to allow them to make those modifications and show that we are providing them to our students. So thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, no problem. I came across that. You'll see that like there's a button where you can access an editable copy, but it's a template that you can modify and to support your folks. And yeah, because we were hearing that across the board from all of the groups that were having conversations with the FI Connects, is how do we really support all of our kids and what they need to do while not putting so much on their plate. I'm reposting that that Google document. And
hey, this is Stacy out here in Catawba County.
hi.
Hi. So I love this template, and I'm like desperately while you were talking, trying to search over here on in my Google, because I've seen a version of this with like 0 words, and it was created by a teacher who I think she was maybe first grade, and she wanted to kind of use that HyperDoc format, but not have to worry about a lot of reading. So words. So I thought if I can find it, I'll post it in the chat.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and then we have B. Jackson suggesting some Google Slides. They have a template created for school support. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is awesome. That's why we're here, right? We're all doing awesome things. It's really hard to share it. And then likewise, I'm sure you've seen, let me find my link. It's been really popular the last, I don't know, for about a week perhaps. And it is a Google Slide template. I'm just trying to find where I dropped it. Well, I'll find it. I know I've got it linked here. So ultimately, like again, how are we serving? If you're just joining us, because we've got lots of people just kind of popping in and out. What can we do to keep it focused, to keep it simple? And last time I was with you all, I shared this this video from Kristen Zimke, and she was just highlighting how she puts together her mini video lessons for her students. And it's super simple, it's straightforward. I like how she's kind of talking realistically about how to make these if your teachers have never really made instructional videos before, to link to content. So it's not necessarily synchronous learning online, but hers are like, okay, I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to show and tell it to you, and now I'm going to say, okay, pause the video and you now try. And when you're done, click back on the video. She gives it a beat, and then she continues on to making that link or connection for the student and the learning. And then of course they have their instructions about how to send her what they engaged with or how they want to demonstrate their learning. I liked this because it was so very simple, easy to follow. And then I thought, as I was thinking about it, I added some stars, as you can see on there. And as a teacher, if I needed to personalize this or differentiate it, then what if I made like 2 different videos where I'm teaching the same content, but maybe in a different way to support my learners? Or there's 2 engagement videos with some different instructions so I could differentiate that more. And that just takes a couple more minutes of my time to make that different video. Because again, when Kristen talks about her videos, they're like 5 minutes maximum. So it's super simple, and just another thing, something to think about. And I'm seeing so many awesome links and things in the Zoom chat. Don't worry if you miss anything. I'm going to do a transcript of this, and it's going to be attached to where the recording of this is going to be. And I'll make sure that you all have the link of how to find that. Likewise, I know a lot of people have been talking about Edpuzzle as a way for teachers to continue to support and help using video in the classroom. And if you're not familiar with QuietTube, I've added that link in as well. And if you want, before you all go today, I can stay on afterwards. And if someone wants to have me demo how to use QuietTube, it's so super simple, but it takes all of the distractions away from a video that you would say find on YouTube. So that's there for you as well. I know this is like a lot of stuff, and and we can consider this same kind of format for our professional development or our supports that we're doing maybe for teachers as well. If we can model, look how simple I did that, teach them something, and then say, let's time out, let's take a moment. Did you see what I did there? Look how simple it is, and you can follow this process. Sometimes our teachers need to see it before they feel comfortable trying it out. So you've already talked about some of these things. These are what we're seeing teachers really talking about most often. And I have some examples to put in the chat. Choice boards. You've already talked about choice boards. Choice boards are awesome, but there's so many different kinds of choice boards that it can be kind of tricky. Like, you know, depending on the content, depending on the age of the child, of what is really going to be helpful. So I've added 3 links in there. Shake It Up Learning came out with a whole bunch of template choice boards that you could download. The family choice boards, again, Matt Miller, he came out with that last week. So it's not necessarily homework, but things that families can do with each other in this time when they're maybe need some distractions or some supports in isolation. And then I've added an example as well in there. And then hyperdocs. So many are talking about hyperdocs and what those are about. I'm going to drop in. There is a great blog called Pedagogy. I love them. They talked about like, resources to support creation of hyperdocs. And I am sure I'm preaching to the choir when I talk. I added this link right here, the hyperdocs.co. Lots of templates, lots of things that is already done, so teachers don't have to fret. That's what we want our teachers to not worry about, right? And then I did come and I did find a e-learning choice board. They say it's like choice boards you can use tomorrow. So it's a step-by-step guide to kind of support, and that's from Carly Mora and her blog. So it's linked to some different choice boards as well. So choice boards, hyperdocs, any people are already sharing some great things. Feel free to continue to share in the chat. And then recently I talked about playlists with some educators and they weren't familiar with the term. So for the older kids, playlists can be a nice, they're very, I mean, all these 3 things are very similar, right? It's just in how it's laid out and what's going to engage the student, the learner with the content, and based on their age, you know, what's appropriate. So I thought I would add in that as well. And then since we are talking about differentiation, I was definitely looking at Cult of Pedagogy, and she has another blog for differentiation starters, because it can be, and this was just in general, but for remote learning situation, we definitely need to consider, you know, how are we differentiating for our kids. And part of our time together today is to get you in some breakout rooms to be talking about like really what you want to focus on and what your needs are. So I want to, I'm watching our time. I did find a bunch of resources because you asked about EC resources that you can pass along to your educators. This has been a huge request and a big lift. The U.S. Department of Ed, they have come out with their instructions for accessibility for the students with disabilities. Likewise, Michigan Virtual Learning, they came up with a detailed report. I believe this was prior to our social distancing and self-isolation, prior to the pandemic, but it's got some really great focus areas. They've broken it down into categories, so that is easy to navigate and use. And then I'm hearing a lot of questions about literacy. And Get Epic, if you're familiar with Get Epic, they are opening up everything for free right now, but it's some great resources for our little ones. I've seen lots of stuff posted online for students reading in general, but Get Epic has some guided reading instruction that you can align for your students with those needs. So we wanted to toss that in there as well. And on top of that one, CETA just came out with some excellent resources based and guidelines based on roles. So I wanted to share that with you for sure. Let me drop this. I'm going to drop that into the chat. So they broke it into what can administrators do, what can special education teachers do, what can general education teachers do, and then what can tech directors and tech coaches do. So this has got some really good meaty stuff, but I also, and forgive me if this is like link overload, let me know. The reason being is everybody has some different needs and different expectations of like what they're looking for, or as a coach, like being able to find that support. So I've just added the Center for Online Learning with students with disabilities. They've got lots of resources. And then Common Sense Media on, I want to say on Friday perhaps, or at least on Wednesday. Common Sense Media kind of came up with a best of special education applications list, and they put it online. So it's got some great opportunities for differentiated learning and recommendations for academic, but then also social and emotional skills as well. And then lastly, there was Council for Exceptional Children. They did have developed a COVID-19 information for special educators that you can pass along. And oh, I realized I left the link off on that. Let me go ahead and grab that. They do have a nice resource section as well. So how do you manage IEP and just all of that stuff. So I know this is going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but there's just so much concern about how are we supporting our EC kids. Just kind of want to put that out there for you. And again, link overload, I'm sorry, but this will all be in a transcript for you. And really just finding the piece that you need, because everybody has a different need right now around this particular area. So any
Hey, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, do we have, I've seen so many different groups in the state giving, doing virtual PD, like this, like, more formal webinars, all that kind of stuff. Is there anybody in the state, from the EC point of view who is doing anything like that that we might be able to either, sign up for or look at the transcript or the recording?
So I know right now, so one of the reasons why FI Connects isn't doing as many conversations is that we are currently creating some teaching supports and webinars around different areas, and EC is one of them. And let me write down, go CSU. That link right there. Oops, sorry, I said that not to everybody, but to one of you, so my apologies. So there is some targeted EC focused webinars in that list. Mm-hmm. And I do know, I think we announced Monday that we were doing these. Registration caps out at 300, they were completely full. And as of today, we're trying to get that open to 500. So, I mean, that's my short answer to that, because otherwise I don't really know in the state. I'm not aware of anybody particularly having a focus on that as of yet.
Okay. That when we did the NC Learns together it feels like last week, but maybe it's longer ago. I don't know. Every day feels like Monday, right? Anyways, and the feedback that we got was, a lot of different things, but definitely EC was a need. So if there's a way to tap into, kind of like this, where there's so many people just doing amazing things and just somehow, broadcasting or amplifying that, it would be really helpful.
Yeah, we've heard so many questions about it. And we're not but the professional learning and leading team at FI, like, we're not the experts in it, but we are just trying to call those resources and find the good stuff and pass it along. It's an opportunity to kind of talk about what your needs are, and I'm going to drop a link in to our chat, and it's going to take you to a dot storm. And what I'd like you to do is, as you're talking and your group comes up with some ideas, add it to the dot storm by hitting that share button in the upper right hand corner, and you'll be able to not only post it to the board, but we can upvote things that we really, really like. So, and as people are fleeing, is this something you don't want to do? So I'm seeing we just had like 7 people run out as fast as we can. Oh, and there
I don't
goes.
know why. This is my favorite part. I'm so excited.
So like no pressure, but I just thought it was a great opportunity to just kind of just connect with each other in a different way, and not you know, so you don't have to listen to me. So what I'm going to do is, in a moment, you're going to see a button pop up on your screen. It's going to say take you to a breakout room. And let's see, does it work? Uh-oh. Are you guys getting the breakout room invitation?
Not yet.
So I'm hitting the button, and it may just be, we're finding that Zoom is awfully text considering, and oh, well, here, we're gonna go do it this way. It's not working, but that's all right. So on this dot storm board, what I'd like you to do is to think about what is your biggest need or needs right now, as we are supporting and helping others through this time. So on that board, I'm going to go ahead and I'll open it up as well. You can see it on my screen here. This is dot storm if you're not familiar with it. It's very simple to use. We already have some folks in it. So all you need to do is, it's going to ask you to add your name in, and you want to add a card. So I click add a card. I can add in my comment, add it to our board, but then you have 3 votes. And how you vote is that you click on the little circle to upvote or downvote. So unfortunately, Zoom seems to be a little bit glitchy at the moment, but what are things that maybe we can focus on or continue, like either continue or things that you're looking for that we can support each other with? Feel free to, you can add, and you can also, you have 3 votes where you can upvote. You can see the little circles indicate how many votes. A lot of good things coming in. As you're adding your ideas, feel free to upvote. And I'll go ahead and I'll rank these in a moment. These are going to help me kind of moving forward with our conversations, as well as, you know, hopefully if someone has some ideas around this, that they can jump in and perhaps support or connect with you. So
So many good ideas came up. I want to change my dots.
Okay, you can change your dots. You can let's say I voted and go, oh wait, I changed my mind. You can click your green dot again and get that vote back and then put it somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
So your green circles are your votes and you can move them around. DotStorm is really simple to use. You get one board for free, but ultimately that's all I ever need because I just keep changing my board. And you can select how many votes that you want to give people. So it can be more than 3, for example. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit the rank by vote button, but feel free to continue adding and voting. So I'm seeing lots of high votes for how do we continue to make relevant and engaging like the topics we've already covered. How do you wrap up the year? That's a great question. I don't know if anybody really knows that one yet. I want to figure out a way to reach more teachers for support. Having trouble getting some students login access. How do we reach unengaged students, parents? Ways to new ideas. Yep, there's a lot of inconsistency. So how are we staying together with standards? There's a lot of really great ideas up here. Definitely the ones that you have voted on, I'm going to focus for our next conversation together. But feel free if you've got some ideas or anything that you want to impart now. Feel free to jump on the mic or within the chat. But then like these are just some things for us to think about or to be looking for. And if you want to come back and share next week, the idea being it's like I'm more interested in what you're struggling and dealing with and not what the social media and the internet is saying that teachers are struggling and needing, right? So thank you for being like really honest and sharing what your concerns are. I'm going to save this list. We have about 10 minutes left. I will link this as well to our to our transcripts. And sorry the breakouts did not work. I'm disappointed. But for some of you, some of their questions about some examples and ideas, and adding in an infused classroom link. We know it's not about the stuff and the links, but sometimes we need that help. So I have some additional stuff. For those of you using Google Classroom, there's a lot of folks out there using Google Classroom. Have a resource, a cheat sheet that teachers have been saying they really found helpful. And then also, we did have a question about looking for a meeting platform. I have been asking some teachers and they really like Loom. So that may be one. Integration with Google Meet and Google Classroom. I have heard some rumors about that, Stacy, about some integration. And I do want to share, our state has got some good stuff out there, some really great resources. If you haven't already taken a look, remote learning resources, they are there. And as of last week, ISTE has come out with some great, great learning ideas and resources as well. And then just because Edutopia came out with an article last week or so, lessons learned from the educators in China who have already lived through this for a few months. So some lessons learned, and it's just a good article that maybe might spark some ideas. or just help you with your staff and answering questions. So kind of before we go, something to consider for yourself and for your teachers. Consider making this Venn diagram. What are the things that matter and the things within your control? And then where that overlaps, that's what you should focus on. I know that's really simple to say, but this is an excellent activity because we are looking for just engagement, connection, really looking for, you know, the things that may be stressing us out, maybe things that are out of our control or we don't know yet. Doesn't mean that it's not still going to stress us out, but just having this reminder, and it's something that your teachers can share with with the students, asking them, you know, what are things that matter to you right now, and you know, when it comes to this learning, what are things in our control. So, last link to share with you. There was a student opinion article written last week, and these were questions that students wanted their teachers to ask them. And this is the article. And I think these questions could easily be modified for anyone that we're supporting and working with. So, you know, how is it going? What does this look like for you? What's your routine, or do you even have one yet? What do you miss about school? Because school is way more than just academics. It's our kids' social outlets. It's our teachers' social outlets. And then what additional supports do you need from teachers, schools, friends, or family? So I just wanted to kind of leave us with some of these questions. Again, where these questions came from, I linked the source of that New York Times article, that's student opinion piece. And then final thought, we're gonna be okay. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, we'll do better. This is step by step. We can't do it all at once. Many of us are still definitely outside of our comfort zones and in our survival modes. So not only ourselves, for our kids, because it is that time. Please give me some feedback, some information. The questions are going to ask, you know, what was something helpful out of this, and let me know if I'm on target. Question is going to ask, what more do you need? Where do you want me to focus? And then also, if you're interested in co-facilitating one of these sessions with me, if you've got some awesome things that you want to share, if you have, you get the opportunity to take the mic and share your awesome. So let me know in that feedback form. Feedback form will also auto-generate a certificate that you were here. So when you complete the form, wait a minute, there's a link that's going to pop up. You need to click on that link to get a hold of that form. So, see the question, will DPI's non-tech resources be linked on the remote learning page, and will they be for all grade levels? Christy, I'm not exactly sure about your question. If you can expand upon that, or grab the mic, or I can stick around. I'm not going anywhere. And
So Jackie, if Christy's talking about the remote learning page, there's a place where there's shared resources on, and have been trying to curate websites and just everything from the Teachers of the Year who are doing their videos, and Friday Institute webinars and things like this. So if that's what Christy's talking about, then if we see it, we'll put it up there. So like all of these, the link to like the the ELA resources that are coming out, we'll try to put that up there.
Thank you for sharing that. I've also added the link where you're going to find a recording of this session, where you'll find the transcript, where you'll find linked documents and information. Thank you for filling out that dot storm. That's going to help me also gauge kind of where we go from here. And let me know in that feedback form if you want to join me. And as we look ahead at the month, there again is the schedule. Feel free to pass it along.
Jacqueline, can I respond? This is Kelly Schultz. Can I respond to Christy's comment?
Yeah.
She said it was in response to mine. So yes, we will hopefully by the end of this week have by grade band, K3, I'm sorry, a K2, a 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 standards-based lessons that can be used digitally or not, and they will be in printed or a printer-friendly format for teachers as well for those students who don't have technology.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll have 2 weeks worth, and then we're going to have another 2 weeks worth after that. So they're coming. Just keep a lookout.
I think everybody's working long days, probably more than ever right now. So I want to thank you all for joining me today and joining each other. Because you asked for it, we're keeping FI Connects going, especially for coaches each week. You have the most discussion sessions for our month, so please feel free to come back and
Excuse me, can I ask a question, please?
yeah.
I think Kelly was just sharing about those materials. Can she share where they will be located?
Yes, I will put, so we currently have a remote learning page for ELA. I will put that in the link. It is where these new resources I'm talking about will be housed, but again, they're not there quite yet. We're making sure that we have all the, we're right in the editing process to make sure that we have all the formats correct. But yes, I will put that link in there for you, and you can, right now there's some digital activities, but you can keep checking back by the end of this week.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all. I'm happy to hang out if you've got questions or want to continue a conversation. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly just put that link in there. And we are at our time for today. So I want to thank you so much. Thank you for what you do for teachers. Thank you what you do for kids. Thank you what you're doing every day, because I know it's a moving target. So I appreciate your time and your ideas. Take care, and thank you.